Title: I found my wife's name in a will. Then I learned she was never related script, 3 to 5 minutes. It started with a phone call. One Tuesday afternoon, my wife answered her phone, listened for less than a minute, and quietly said, "I'll be there." She looked shaken. When I asked what had happened, she simply replied, "Someone passed away." I frowned. "Who?" She hesitated. "Someone important." That's all she would say. 2 days later, she attended the funeral alone. When she came home, her eyes were red from crying. She carried a single envelope, but she wouldn't let me see it. For the next week, she barely spoke. Then one evening, while looking for our insurance papers, I accidentally found the envelope in our desk drawer. Inside was a copy of a will. As I skimmed through it, one sentence made my heart stop. "I leave my house to Emily Carter." My wife. I stared at the page. The person who wrote the will had a completely different last name. They weren't related. Why would a stranger leave my wife an entire house? Had she been hiding another family? Another life? That night, I placed the will on the kitchen table. "I think you should tell me the truth." She looked at the document, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Ma'am, I always hoped you'd never have to wonder." Then she told me everything. 20 years earlier, when she was a struggling college student, she worked evenings delivering groceries. One of her regular customers was an elderly widow named Margaret. Margaret had no children, no close relatives. Every week, my wife stayed a little longer after each delivery. She helped to carry groceries inside, fixed broken light bulbs, read letters when Margaret's eyesight became weak. Eventually, those visits became dinners, then birthdays, then holidays. Year after year, they became family, not by blood, by choice. When Margaret became too sick to live alone, my wife visited every weekend. She drove her to doctor's appointments, cooked meals, held her hand during treatments. She never accepted a single dollar. She simply loved her. A few months before Margaret passed away, she made one final decision. She changed her will, not because my wife asked, because she wanted the only person who never abandoned her to have a home. Tears rolled down my wife's face. I never helped her because I wanted anything. I just didn't want her to be alone. The following weekend, we visited the house together. Everything was exactly as Margaret had left it. On the kitchen table sat one final handwritten letter. It read, "Family isn't always the people you're born with. Sometimes it's the people who stay." I couldn't hold back my tears. On the drive home, I realized something. Sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't money. It's knowing you made someone feel loved until the very end. And sometimes the people who change our lives forever aren't relatives. They're the strangers who become family.